Hi Mustangs, it's Mr. Warmouth, and this is the rundown for week of Monday, April 27th. So we only have 3 weeks of school remaining. That's the first big news. I have several missing things. I'm trying to email you and your parents and just try to, I don't know, give you a shot at getting those things turned in. I'm not taking points off for late work necessarily, but I have to put in zeros for things that I don't have. If you need help, you need to ask. Please email me. If you're having trouble with your computer, you need to either email me or email Wainwright and let them know so they can get your computer fixed as soon as possible. All right. So the first thing is I've had a lot of questions about where to find certain things. This week we have a story to read that is in, the Close Reader, which is something you should have at home. Most of you should have those things at home, the floppy books that we sent home on the last day. But you can still get to those stories with the links that I'm providing. So let's start with finding the assignments page that's always been there, that's there for you every week, and go from there. Because again, another question I'm getting is, well, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? I don't know where to find this. I don't know where to find that. If you're watching this video, chances are you know what you need to do because everything's spelled out for you. So first modules, the way it's been set up is that it's broken up by week. Week 12 was our first week, and the first thing listed underneath each week is that RL assignment page. Okay, so if you need to go back and find instructions on how to find certain stories for different assignments, you're going to have to go back to those RL assignment pages. So start from week 12, that's the beginning of this remote learning experience. That's what RL means, remote learning. And then just kind of find what you need to find there. 13, 14, 15 was last week. So that means 16 is this week. We only have 3 weeks remaining, so that's 17 and 18 after this week. We'll meet once during week 16, one gray day, 2 gray days, Monday and Friday next week, and then 1 day for week 18, the last week of school. All right, so your week 16 assignment page looks like this. Again, you have 1 gray day, that's Wednesday, and then 2 blue days. If you see there's more stuff than usual, don't freak out. I'll explain everything. So the first thing is the blue days are reminder days. Make sure you do this. Make sure you turn this in. Hey, if I haven't seen this yet, please submit this now. So the first thing listed here says response to Bella. That was from Friday. So you should be able to submit that today, Monday. I know that today is not a gray day and that you shouldn't have homework on an off day, but I'm not assigning you something. This was Friday's work, and I just wanted to give you the weekend to get it finished. I have about 11 of them turned in right now, and I'll probably see most of the others come in sometime today. So again, as you read down through this list of reminders, I've put click here's, links to get to the assignments you need, or some information. Like the second one here is about reader's response. That's the essay that's due in 3 weeks. There's a click here. If you have not submitted your book idea, which some of you still haven't yet, most of you have, which has been great, but you need to submit that idea so you can have those points, get those points. It's 10 easy points as long as you say, hey, I'm going to read this book. And make sure you're reading. So the reader's response is something that we'll talk about. I guess we can talk about it right now. That is due in 3 weeks, Friday, May 15th. So I already have that brought up here. This is what the reader's response writing template looks like. One thing I can say is that this is something that we've had from week 12 on. So if I go back to modules, look at week 12, the reader's response, that's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, and that's what I've been reminding you about every week. So this is a book report, and it's over the book that you chose or should have chosen already. There's 6 different sections that I want you to address, or topics that I want you to address, and they're all spelled out for you there. I've already done a video on this, I think, and sent that out in that week 12 or around that time. But ask if you have questions. Essentially, all you're doing is trying to reproduce this with your book. So it says that it's due on Friday, May 15th, 75 points. This is going to be like our end of the year project. It's taking the place of AR, and it it kind of makes you think about what you've been reading or something that you will read. Hopefully you're already done or you're almost done. So the first of the 6 areas is novel summary. That should be self-explanatory. Start with the title of the book and the author's name and tell me what happens in the story. Anything exciting, characters, obviously, the setting or settings, the plot is what happens in the story, the most exciting parts, the resolution, how it wraps up. Okay, 1 or 2 paragraphs. It says at least 1 paragraph. That should be easy enough. Theme discussion. This is when you're talking about some theme specifically. Now, this one is not meant to confuse you, but here's how it works. Interdependence is the theme that you're going to discuss for this book. You can talk about it in 2 different ways. The first is, yes, there are examples of interdependence, meaning 2 or more people kind of working together to help each other. And you found that example in your book. The other way to talk about this is, I didn't see it in the story, but here's how it would have helped the story or helped the characters in the story. So for example, and I'm giving you examples using A Christmas Carol throughout. You can't use A Christmas Carol. I talked about how the Cratchit family struggled to get by and how they worked together. And I was specific saying in stave 3, Scrooge visits the home and he sees how even though they're poor, they love each other, they work hard, and they work to help the family out. Everyone works to help the group. So that's interdependence. They're working together to help each other. Okay. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to talk about how you see it or maybe how you do not see it in your story. The importance of setting is the 3rd area that you're going to address. And the question in bold here, how does the setting of your story shape the characters or plot? That's what I want you to talk about. If you think about A Christmas Carol, there are moments that help shape that story. And there are several different settings, I guess, but the main setting is London. That's where the story takes place. And then Scrooge is taken to different places. The Cratchits would be one setting, his house is another setting, and the end of the story when he's in the graveyard and he sees his grave, that's another setting as well. So I talked about that specific setting. It had a huge impact on Scrooge because when he saw his grave, he freaked out and he said, I'll change. That's what I'm looking for there. 1 paragraph. Easy enough. Now it gets a little tougher, I think. Literary devices and vocabulary. You're going to give me 3 examples of each, meaning 3 examples of figurative language that you found in the story. You're going to share where those were found, pages, chapters. Pages would be best because that's most specific for what you're sharing. Like in this example, on page 1 of Christmas Carol, Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. That is a simile, uses like or as, and that's what I explain here. It's a simile, and it assures the reader that Marley is dead, and to prove that what Scrooge sees later in his house is in fact a ghost. Okay, so don't just say here's one, explain what it means. You'll do that 3 times. Vocabulary is the same thing, and I think vocab is really easy. When you come across a word that you don't know maybe, or it's an interesting word, you point it out and you define it. And you need to share that the definition came from Webster's, dictionary.com, wherever. Google is not a dictionary. It's a web browser. It helps you find dictionaries and other websites. But that's what I did here. So biting is the word that I chose from A Christmas Carol, and it means nipping, smarting, or keen, according to dictionary.com. In this context, the narrator is telling us that the weather is so cold outside that it hurts. That's what I'm looking for. There's 1, and you need 3 of those examples from your story. The last thing is a recommendation, and that's easy. It's 1 paragraph saying why or why you didn't like the story. Remember, it's never good enough to say, I thought it was a bad story. I didn't like it. Why? What about it stood out and made it seem bad to you? Why would you not recommend it to someone? Or vice versa. You thought it was a great story? Cool. Why? Why is it such a great story? Explain why in a paragraph, why you would tell a friend they should read the story or not. So that's the rundown for the reader's response. Okay. I'm probably not going to assign any other assignments this week. I'm sorry, any more writing assignments going forward because I want everyone to get this one done. That's probably the best way to do this. So let's go back to the week 16 assignments. So again, Monday, April 27th, that's today. There's really nothing that you have to do except turn in your Bella response if you haven't. I'm also missing some fire responses, and you should have received an email about that. So Wednesday, April 29th, this is our 1 day of the week that we have class. Let me get my timer back up here. I'm trying to this thing under 10 minutes. Oh, there's 10 minutes right there. I'll be fast. So today's grade A, you're going to read about a lady named Diane Nash. Diane Nash was involved in the civil rights movement in the South in the 60s. And she's mainly known for helping to organize what were called sit-in movements or sit-ins, where people would come into lunch counters or restaurants and fill up those spaces where people of color were not allowed to sit and order food. So you've probably seen videos of those things, and there's something for you to watch a little later on this week about it. So read the story. The story is located in your close reader. That's the floppy book. But there's also a link here for the e-textbook. It's on page CR96. And another link here that takes you to this site or this PDF. I think it's PDF or a web scan or something like that. It's a little slow to load, but this is the exact same story you would find in your floppy book. So when people are asking me, hey, I can't find the story, it's not in the book, it is in the book, you just got to look for it. There are three options. So you have your book, or you should have your floppy book, you have the ebook, the e-textbook, and you have that completely separate website that's a scan of the same story. So any of those three will work. So you don't have to do a writing for this one. Again, I want you to focus on the reader's response going forward, but I want you to read the story and think about what caused Nash to become involved with the movement. All of this is about getting involved with causes that move you, whether it's helping people that died in a fire and changing the rules for all of us, or in this case, fighting for equality for everybody. So the other thing is the language review stuff. Last week we talked about pronouns a little bit. This week it's subject-verb agreement. We've talked about subject-verb agreement before. It's essentially using singular subjects with singular verbs or plural subjects with plural verbs. There's a video for you here from Khan Academy, which I think is really good. It's very informative and to the point. And then there's an IXL lesson you can click on here, EE1, and do that if you want. The one thing about IXL is that if you get it wrong, whatever the answer you put in there, they'll give you a sorry incorrect page. And if you read down through the remember section, the blue section here, which is the tab, it tells you or it reminds you or reteaches you what this thing is all about. Okay, so I'm going to let you use that as you need to. Back to here, Friday, May 1st. So this is the last day of the week. Again, this is just a reminders page, but I put a couple of things on here in case you want them. Please make sure that you do your reading. Please make sure that you start that reader's response as soon as possible and get it turned in. You're welcome to turn it in twice, revise it, get some more points, but you've got to get something turned in first before that can happen. There's a video here for civil rights movement stuff, sit-ins. This is not exactly the same place that Diane Nash was working with her people in Nashville. This is, I think, North Carolina. Watch it and find out. It's interesting. It's really good. And it's short. I tried to give you short things. The last thing on here is if you want some more practice with subject-verb agreement, you can do it. You don't have to. It's not an assignment. It's not something you can turn in, but you're welcome to try that out. That's all I got, because it's been about 12 minutes, I think. Probably more than that. If you have questions, ask. If you have problems, please let me know. But please start here. If you don't know what to do, the first thing you should do is go to your week, current week, 16 now, RL assignment page. If it's something from the past that you didn't turn in, go back to that week, find the RL assignment page, and read all of the instructions. Everything you need should be there. Okay? So that's all I have this week. Good luck. Do your best, and we'll see you next time.